Hello, I'm going to show you today how to put together the first part of your clarinet so that you can make some sound. And I'm going to show you first all the parts of the clarinet, and then I'll show you how to put the reed on and all that type of thing. So let me show you the parts of the clarinet. I'm not going to show you in my case. I tried that earlier and it just about tipped over. So here is the bell. Looks kind of like a bell. That's why they call it bell, I guess. We've got the lower joint, which has one cork, and that goes down eventually. We've got the upper joint, which has two corks. We've got the barrel, narrow side goes up. We've got the mouthpiece with a cork on it, and we've got the ligature. Okay. Obviously, we also need a reed. So I'm going to show you and talk about the reed for a minute. The reed comes in a plastic case or casing, and this casing is not very stable. So I'm going to take this out carefully. This bends, so eventually I might want to get something a little more sturdy. We've got cases like this that I think are $1, and double cases that will hold 4 reeds for $2, I believe. So that's just for future reference. So you're going to take this reed, and before I do anything with it, I want to point out a couple things. First of all, one side of the reed has a curve to it. Sometimes it will have this line, often it won't. On the back, you're going to see a name. It's backwards to you because of my camera. This is a Rico Royal, and this is a strength 2.5. So this 2.5 reed tells me how thick the end of the reed is. You're going to start on a 2.5 in 6th grade, and then as you continue along, as your mouth gets a little bit more firm, as your muscles develop, you're going to get a stronger reed. Maybe by the end of 6th grade you'll be on a 3 strength, and then in 7th grade you'll be on a 3 or a 3.5, and sometimes students get up to 4, and then usually 4 by in high school. Don't need much more than that unless you're playing a whole bunch. And you can see by the lighting how narrow it is at the top. The light actually goes through it. So that tells you that that's really fragile right there. I'm going to show you a couple ways that it's going to break. You're going to break these. It's okay, but they do cost money, and parents get upset about that. So we got to be careful with it. So when you first get a reed, you can put it in water in a cup at your house. And I would recommend that because it helps with the taste. The reeds don't taste great. You're going to put them in your mouth in a moment. I usually try to put mine in water first and then put it in my mouth when I first get it. After that, you don't need to do it every time. So you can get flavored reeds, but the flavors like penetrate the pores of the reed, and then the reed does not sound very good. So it tastes okay and sounds terrible. So please don't get those. Ew. So I'm going to put this in my mouth. And you'll notice this is the first time that I could break it, right? I could bang it against my teeth. So I'm going to put it in my mouth. And you're going to notice that I can't talk very well. So I'm not going to leave this in while I'm trying to do the video. And I do both ends. You're going to leave this in your mouth for, if it's brand new, for a couple minutes. Because you're kind of... it's like breaking down and soaking in the pores in the reed here. So the longer you have the reed, the easier it is to get wet. So eventually you won't need as much time, but then of course you'll have to buy a new reed at some point. I'm going to set this very carefully off to the side because that's where it could break. All right, and over here I've got notes, so when I keep looking over here, that's what I'm looking at. So while the reed is in your mouth, you're going to find your barrel, your mouthpiece, and your ligature. Okay? First thing you need to do, especially if you have a brand new clarinet, is you're going to grease the corks. So most cork grease comes like this. There are other types. And the thing about greasing the corks is you're not trying to make it so that you can see the grease on it. Like that is too much. It's a little blurry. That's too much. If you can see that, it needs to be rubbed in. Okay? So rub it in. Yeah, it's kind of gross. Get a Kleenex or a paper towel. Now when I rub it in really well, my clarinet's a little bit older, you're going to see that it's a little bit shiny. And that means that it's going to be able to be put onto the other part a little bit easier. Now these parts don't have keys, which is really nice. So I can grip these pretty firmly when I put them together. And you'll know which side works because if I do this, oh, that's really easy. That's the wrong side. So I want to do the narrow side to the cork here, and I'm going to literally like twist them together. You can be pretty forceful with these because you aren't breaking any keys. You're not going to do any damage. And there's no, right now you don't have to worry about lining it up because this is lined up. So, okay, next, remember the reed is still in your mouth. You need to get your ligature. Now, very common mistake for sixth graders or beginning players is that they don't loosen the screws enough. Okay, so that being said, you can loosen the screws too much. We'll get there. Oh no, they came out. That's a little too loose. So you're going to loosen them just enough, well, a lot actually, towards the end, so that it can spread. Okay, you want to have a little distance there because this has to go over the mouthpiece and the reed. So I'm going to show you two different ways to put your reed on, and I don't care which way you do it. Somebody will say, oh, you have to do it this way, and somebody else will say, no, you have to do it this way. I'm going to show you both ways, and hey, you get to decide. So the first way is this. I'm actually going to take the reed and slide it over the top. Now, that was really easy for me. I've done this a number of times. If it doesn't go very well, you probably have the wrong side down. So you want the big side, the big opening down, and you'll notice it's correct because take a look at this. Here's the opening, and my screws are to the right. And again, I think this picture is going to be backwards because I'm videotaping. So the screws are off to your right. So if I look at it, that's my right, okay? The screws are that way, and it's flat, okay? So now I'm going to take my reed. Ooh, that was close. I almost did my reed in right there. Now this part, the reason I actually don't do it this way because it's awkward for me. Maybe I'm just an awkward person, I don't know. But you have to slip the reed down in and then get it all moved down. Okay, to me that's a little awkward. Now I'm going to get the reed. Notice that it's the curvy side is out, okay? The ligature is loose enough that I've put it down onto my mouthpiece. You see how far down it is? Common mistake is to put it up here. That's not correct. You've got to slide the ligature, loosen it up so that it gets down here. Notice on my reed I have a line, on my mouthpiece I have a line too. I don't know if you can see that, but that line tells me that that's where my ligature should go. My reed, and this is so, I can't even tell you how important this is. If your reed isn't in the right spot or not on correctly, you aren't going to make the right sound. It'll just be impossible. So really, really make this look just like mine. So my reed, you can see, if I gently press, I can barely see black across the top. That tells me I'm in a pretty good position. Let me show you what's too low. I didn't even move it very far, did I? That's too low. It won't make any sound if I play that. And if I can't see anything, if it's up over the top, there we go. If it's up over the top, you won't be able to play. Okay, so you're going to line up your reed exactly with the tip of the mouthpiece, ligature down there. Okay, now I'm going to tighten my ligature screws. I say the word tighten, but you're only going to do it to the point that it holds the reed on. Some people say that you should tighten the bottom one first. I don't know. That was a professional clarinet player, I think, that said that. He might know what he was talking about. So tighten the bottom one, and again, you don't have to crank it down, just enough that it stops screwing in. Okay, then I'm going to do the top. All right. Beautiful. Now I said there was a second way to do this, and I'm going to show you the second way. I'm going to do this really quickly. This is the way that I do it because it's less awkward. My reed is dry. Okay, the way that I do it, and again, you get to choose. The way that I do it is that I line up my reed first, and I hold it nice and tight with my thumb. And the problem with this one, of course, is that you're more likely to break your reed. Now I'm going to take my ligature and put it up over the top. Oh, you see right there, metal against reed. That could be disastrous. So I place that. My thumb is still holding the reed. You see that? And I'm going to find my spot for my ligature, and then I'm going to go ahead and tighten it. Great. So this is a perfect setup, and you need to look at yours right now and determine, or if you're still working on it, that's fine, determine if yours looks exactly like mine. Okay, let me show you some wrong ones. Okay, so here's what's not to do. I don't know if I can loosen this enough. Okay, so take a look at that. What's wrong with that? My ligature is too low. Okay, so I'm going to have to put this back up and then tighten it. How about if I do, and I see this most often. Whoop, it slipped back down. I see this the most often. People will say, my ligature is too tight. That's because you got to loosen it more. So this is too high. Loosen the screws. Let it sit all the way down. Okay. Here's another common mistake. Take a look at my reed. Do you notice that it's crooked? Yeah, crooked won't play. There's a gap there, and the reed playing over that opening, and it vibrates when you blow. That's what makes the sound. And so if you've got this gap going on, then that is not going to work. So you got to straighten that up. And ooh, I'm gonna try to trick you right now. I want you to look really closely at this and tell me what the problem is. Well, tell the video. You can't tell me in life because this is a video. Okay. Boy, you're gonna have to look really close on this one. All right, so here's my ligature. Turn it around to the front. Now, what have I done wrong? You have any guesses? Is my ligature too high or too low? It's roughly where the line is, so my ligature is okay. Are my screws too tight? Nope. That'd be hard to see, wouldn't it? How about my reed? Is it crooked? It's not crooked, but do you see this right here? That's actually too much of a gap. And you might say, well, that's like practically there. Yes, practically again isn't good enough. So I've got to get my reed back up into place. There we go. One final thing for the end of this. The next video is going to be making a sound. This is what makes your sound, so that's why we had to be so specific about it. So here's the deal. Your ligature, the screws I said go to the right. If you, let's see, I think some people end up putting it backwards. There are some ligatures that are made this way. I have one, but your ligature is probably made to go this way, okay? So unless you have a different kind of ligature, and some students have come across different kinds of ligatures, I'll let you know if you have the different kind that needs to be go backwards. I have a backwards ligature. It is, oops. Oh, it's caught on something. All right, this is a backwards ligature. So notice that when my screws go the correct direction to the right, the screws are actually on the back. Okay, so I have what's called an inverted ligature. Please don't invert yours unless it's supposed to be inverted, okay? It's not going to like kill you or anything, but this will make you play better if you do it the right way. Okay, so finally, before we go on to the next video, you're going to take your reed off. I will tell you some icky stories about reeds someday. Don't forget to ask me about them. You want this off and you want it to like get a little dry. So I usually either do this to it, don't do it too much because you can break it. Some people wipe it across their pants a little bit or do like a cloth. And then I'm going to place it back into my reed holder very carefully. Oh, look at that. That was another spot that I could have broken my reed, right? So I'm going to slide it back in. I'm not going to push it very far in because if you push it very far in, you won't get it back out tomorrow. So just gently push it in and then put your stuff back. All right, next video is going to be making your first sound. Sorry this one took so long, but trust me that if you have everything set up, that's going to make it so much easier to make the right sound. Okay, see you soon.